Number 6, starting anywhere. I see this a lot of time with beginners. They are able to play from the beginning very well, but if they mess up in an 8-measure piece at measure 7, they can't just pick up and finish it. They have to actually go back to the beginning. And the reason why is because that's how they practiced, always starting from the beginning. So it's very uncomfortable at first, but it's something that you must do. And once you kind of get over that hump, it's fine. But whenever you make a mistake in a piece as you're working on it, stop right there and fix it and then go on. So you get used to starting in that place where you usually make a mistake, which helps you to kind of, oh yes, this is that place and I know how to start from here. It's very helpful. You don't want to only be able to play from the beginning of a piece. Number 7 is crossing the bar line. A lot of times I have students that are able to play very well in the measure, and then there's a little pause, and then they go on to the next measure, and then there's a pause. It's like we hear those bar lines happening. And bar lines are only visual. They really don't, they're not auditory, right? So we don't want to pause, even though we have that visual stop there. So the way to overcome that is to play through the bar line to the downbeat of the next measure. So if you're in 4/4 time, you would actually play 5 beats. And then you would start at the beginning of measure 2 and play to the downbeat of measure 3, the next 5 beats, and so on, so that you can get used to a sense of flow in your piece. Number 8 is problem solving. This one is huge. This is very important. If you have a process to troubleshoot and to problem solve when you are practicing, it's going to make your practicing much more effective. And this is something that will stay with you throughout your piano playing years. So the way that you do this is, let's say you make a mistake. A lot of times what students will do is they'll fix it and then move on. Make the mistake, fix it, move on. And often they will end up always making that first mistake the first time they play it, and then the second time they can get it right. So they come to me playing this mistake that they practiced and then fixing it, which they also practiced. And they're like, I just can't play it right the first time. And that's because they didn't effectively problem solve. Just because you fixed the mistake doesn't mean that you actually prevented it from happening again. You do this through problem solving. So number 1, you need to know what is the mistake you made. It's funny because sometimes we don't even think about that. We just kind of bypass it and look to the solution, but we need to know what is the mistake. If you played a G instead of an F, for example, you need to identify that, because then the second question is, why did I make that mistake? So why did I play a G instead of an F? You have to figure that out. It could be a fingering problem. It could be a technical issue. Maybe you need to rotate a little bit to get to it. It could be a physical issue. Maybe you're tense and then you can't play it. There are a lot of reasons for mistakes that we make. And as a beginner, you want to start developing an arsenal of different ways of solving the problem. Number 3 is, what's the solution? How do you fix it? Sometimes it's as easy as writing in a different finger number, circling the note, writing in the note name, something like that. Other problems might have more complex solutions, and that's where a good teacher comes in handy. Number 9 is cycling. This is something that you'll use in your advanced practice as well, but for beginners, it's very effective. So this is where you have a problem in a measure, and you narrow it down to maybe even, okay, getting from this note to this note, I'm having an issue. Those 2 notes, you just go back and forth and play them over and over again, not to excess, maybe 3-4 times, maybe 5, just to get it to be nice and easy. And then you work your way outwards. Okay, so I've got these 2 notes, now let me play the note that comes before it and see if I can play those 3 notes. Maybe play the note after it so you have those 4 notes. And you just kind of cycle it a few times to get it to be easy. Number 10 is what I call respect the sides. And this is similar to the cycling that I was just talking about. But often when we problem solve, we're focused on, okay, this measure, measure 7 is the one that I'm having trouble with. And so you do all these different things, slope practice, your counting, your problem solving, all of that, and you get measure 7 fixed. Then you go back to the beginning and you try to play it, and you mess up measure 7 again. And you thought you had it fixed. Or measure 7 is fine, but then measure 6 and measure 8 are not. And sometimes the problem is multifaceted. Sometimes it's just a whole bunch of issues in a small span of time. Other times it's just we have to incorporate that measure back into the piece again. So that's what respecting the sides is about. It's about taking maybe the one beat that happens in the measure prior to the measure you're working on. So let's say you're working on measure 7, you would go to the last beat in measure 6 and play that and play measure 7. So just one beat, and then maybe the last 2 beats in measure 6, play through measure 7, and so on. And then you would work on the other side, play measure 7 to the downbeat of measure 8, and keep going that way. And that will help you reincorporate that back into the piece. Well, that's it for my 10 practice tips for beginners. I hope it's been helpful for you. If you are interested, please sign up for my newsletter so you can find out more information about courses that I have to offer and new videos that I release. Happy practicing!